race card, highlighted by the single six carryover. There's a carryover in the single six that starts in race number 3. It's a 20-cent jackpot wager in the carryover, $17,730. We do have another small carryover in the high five in the 8th and final race, and that is better than $1,600 as well. So race number 1 kicks off the pick 5. Those have been paying very well here too, and also minimal takeout in the pick 5, just 15% takeout. Now it's a maiden filly and mare 5 claimer to go 5 furlongs to kick things off here. And if you're playing the pick 5, I think this is a definite spread race. But of the horses in there, I think number 3, Taytown, is probably the most logical winner. Now, she's had everything her own way the past couple of times and has faltered, but I think the turn back to the 5 furlongs is the key for this daughter of Jerseytown, for Chuck Fipke and Kelly Ackman. She will be a pace presence, and I think the 2 horses inside of her aren't fast enough to go with her, so I think she'll be able to clear off and have a good rail position here going into that turn. Number 3, Taytown, my top pick. Now, for second, number 5, I'm Not Small. This one's on the turn back. Was 9th, meeting 25 lengths last start. That was going a mile. I don't think she wanted any part of that, but cutting back to the more reasonable sprint distance, I think this will benefit this one. She comes from the barn of Tony Scott for owner Joe Woodard. After that, I'm going to go for number 8, Too Short, 15-1 on the morning line. I think this one is well drawn to the outside. She's not as quick as the others, but should some hot tempo develop up top and those leaders come back, I think Too Short can come pick up the pieces for Dick Finucane. 3-5-8 for me, but overall in race 1, I would use as many numbers as I could if you're playing the pick 5. Because in race number 2, I think we have a free space tonight. I think race 2 is the definite single of the night, and that is number 7, Pikachu, the most logical winner on the program for me. Now, this horse is coming off a banner season in 2019, where he was the horse of the year in the United States. He tied for the win in most wins. He had 9 wins from 17 starts. Of course, he was 14 for 17 in the money. The 2019 Horse of the Year, Pikachu, from the barn of Brian Michael for Andy Ritter. Now, Brian Michael, very good trainer. Some of you may remember Brian Michael if you watched the movie Horse for Danny. I believe it was a Hallmark movie, but it was based at Ellis Park, and some of it was filmed at Keeneland. Brian was one of the main leads in the movie. He played the jockey that rode the horse in the movie. I think his name was Kent in the movie. But anyway, Brian Michael, man, he's multifaceted here. Many talents. Brian Michael sends out Pikachu, even money, fresh off that win in the Prairie Bayou Stake, where he rallied from off the pace to beat a really, really good field. Royal Mesa ran in behind him. Of course, Guess Sweet, who finished 3rd, came back and won a stake in the opening week card down at Oaklawn. So Pikachu been facing much tougher than knees in here. And the distance, he's never been beaten. 2 for 2 at today's distance in race 2 of 1.5 miles. Now, after that, number 3, Baron. This one is a non-3 lifetime, but I think breeding suggests the route of ground should be no problem. His running style should be no problem as well. I think it's all about the 7, Pikachu. Number 3, Baron, I think it can run on and pick up the pieces. And then number 9, Glad to Be Here, is another one that you probably could use underneath, and the exactas and tries and supers as well. This one is a 2-time winner at Turfway, and last start he didn't fare so well. He was 3rd, beaten 7 lengths, went off 4-1 that day, but that was at a distance not to his liking, going 6.5 furlongs. I don't think he'll mind the route of ground. I just don't think his numbers stack up to the likes of Pikachu. 7-3-9 for me in race 2. I'm going to single in the pick 4 and 5s. It all goes through number 7, Pikachu, for Andrew Ritter. Now, the third race here at Turfway every night starts the 20-cent single six jackpot wager, and tonight there's free money. You might as well get involved if you have never played this bet. It starts in race 3 in the final 6 races on the card, just like any normal pick 6, except it's a 20-cent base bet, and it is a jackpot wager. And if you have any questions on the terms and of the single six jackpot in your program, right next to the third race, it does show the takeout, and you know, you must have 6 winners to receive it, how much goes into the pool and carries and such. So you can find that all right there, but what you need to know is there's free money in it. Over $17,000 starts in race 3, and you want to be involved there. You can bet it for very, very minimal play. So in the third race, my top pick is number 2, Risky, Risky, Risky. On the class trap for D. Polis, she sends his daughter curling out, Rafael Hernandez with the return call. Now this one was 4th, beaten 4 lengths here last start, back on January 18th. And May have needed the trip over the track. Some horses shipping in from Chicago have needed a trip over the track. In their second and third starts, they've turned it around and put it all together. And I think risky. She fits that mold on the class drop trip over the track. She stretches out to a route distance here, and I think she'll get a perfect setup as far as pace goes. Now, number 4, I Saw Her First is my top pick. She stretched out last time when stepping up from that maiden 5, a second place performance, to a 75 maiden going a route of ground, and she relished it. She, in fact, won off by better than 4 lengths and could have won by more than that. And she came up the fence that day in the rail that was kind of dead. But I think this one is begging for ground, and I Saw Her First, my second choice in race 3. Then after that, I was in between a couple of horses in here. I ended up going with the number 10, Red Hot Katie. She turned things around, too, back, and when she broke her maiden, I think the light bulb went off. She figured out what she was supposed to do, and she came back and followed it up with a pretty good second-place performance for the 75 level, same as today, the 75 non-2 for Steve Cannon and Barbara Riley, and Rodney Prescott gets the return call. But for me, I think it all goes through the 2 and 4. I'll have a ticket in the single 6 later on in the program prior to the 3rd race, and we'll see if we can't take that down tonight. We'll talk about race 4 next. It's a maiden filly 3-year-old 30 down to $20,000 claimant event to go a mile. There is a scratch of number 1, Beckinsale. And in race 4, I like number 8, English Escort. She's 5-1 on the morning line, daughter of English Channel. We know those love the Polytrack. And this one made the Polytrack debut last start in a maiden special weight in a really good field. In fact, a couple of those horses that was in that race we'll see in this subsequent race number 5. It was a maiden special weight won by Baby Carrots. She's pointing to a stake event up at Laurel on the 15th. The horse Annie Mabel, who was second that day, she's in the 5th race. And she's a really nice horse. And this one rallied from far off the pace to be 6, beaten 6.5 lengths in that Poly debut. And I think she wanted more ground. In fact, her breeding says so. So she stretches out to the mile distance, 5-1 on the morning line on the class drop. Gets my top nod in race number 4. Now for second, I'm going to go for number 2, Fireside Kitten, another one by a Kitten's Joy. We know those horses love the Polytrack. Out of a Galileo mare named Dearest Girl. This one comes from owner, breeder Ken and Sarah Ramsey for trainer Mike Maker, and she's 4-1 favorite on the morning line with Gerardo Corrales. Now she was second, beaten 7 lengths to a horse that nobody was going to beat last start, and I think a trip over the track. She comes from a good barn. She'll be rolling late. Fireside Kitten is the next logical horse to use. Now, my third choice is another decent price horse, 6-1 on the morning line. That's Doug Henderson's Bright Side of Life. Carrying the Marablu Farm Silks for trainer Ray Hernandez, who's hitting at a very good clip at the meeting. Has 5 wins from 17 starts. He's almost 50% in the money in 1, 2, 3, and this one is one that I think will need to be used on your tickets. Debuted at Churchill, the only race that she's ran. She's a daughter of Colonel John. Debuted on December 1st at Churchill at a route distance, and kind of ran even, but was only beaten 14 lengths. She was slow to start and was a little wide in that race, and just kind of wasn't persevered with the last 16th of a mile, and I think her second start on the class drop. She gets a break in weight here with apprentice Joe Ramos, who I think is third leading rider at the meeting overall, and you gotta like her. You gotta like her at 6-1. Gotta respect her connections here in race 4, 8, 10, 12 for me. Another horse I may use in the pick 4 is number 6, Bella Maggie. Now, she's coming in from Golden Gate, drops in class, and she started her first 3 races in her career with a trio of 5th place finishes. Then she came back and she was up in there after the pace, and then all of a sudden she faltered, was 9th, beaten 7 lengths. But what happened that day, if some of you have followed along on the internet or you watch races, this filly was involved in a race where the jockey gave his whip away to another jockey in the race. Now, he was down on the rail and he thought he was beaten, so he just gave his whip to another jockey to the outside, and that one took his to try to go on and win it. So then he just wrapped up on this filly after that, and she was never even asked. And I think she's better than that. I think for the $30,000 level, she'll fare much better today. She does have some all-weather experience, comes from a good barn, and I think you'll have to use her if you play the pick 4s and pick 5, pick 6 as well. Now, that's the first half of the card. We're going to take a little break here. We'll come back for the changes in the back half of the card. But ladies and gentlemen, first, At this time, I ask that you please rise. Kindly remove your caps as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Turfway Park. The mutual windows are open. At this time, if you'll take out your racing programs, I'll give you tonight's late program changes. 8 races on the card, temperature 33 degrees here in Florence, and the polytrack is fast. Race number 1 starts the 50-cent pick 5. There is a scratch of number 6, Here's I Am. Number 6, Here's I Am, is out. Race 2 starts the early pick 4. There are 3 scratches. Scratch number 4, Howell Mountain. Scratch 6, Friend Zone. Scratch 8, Bada Bing, Bada Boom. There is 1 overweight in race number 2. Number 10, Hope Prospect, is 2 pounds overweight. On to the third race, which starts the 20-cent single 6. Don't forget the carryover in the single 6, $17,730. And there's a couple of changes in race 3 as well. Scratch part of the entry, 1A Trapped Town. Scratch 6, Don't Dally. Scratch 7, More Cowbell. The 1A, 6, 7, all withdrawn out of the third. In the fourth race, scratch number 1, Beckinsale. Beckinsale has been scratched. Race number 5, start of the late pick 4, simply scratch the also eligibles, 13 and 14. 13 and 14, those numbers scratch from race 5. In the 6th race, scratch number 1, Blueberry Shine. The 1 is out of race 6. 2 changes in race number 7. Jockey change on number 7, Head for the Shore. Make it Sammy Bermudez. Sammy Bermudez on the 7. There's a scratch of number 10, That's Great. Number 10, That's Great, has been scratched. 8th and final, with that high 5 carryover better than $1,600, there's a change. It's a jockey change, number 5, Indy Rhythm, to Kevin Jimenez. Kevin Jimenez on the 5, Indy Rhythm. Race fans, those are the changes at this time. Any changes coming in throughout the balance of the program, I'll get those to you as they do so. First post in 26 minutes. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We got through the first half of the card prior to the anthem, and we'll take a closer look at the late pick 4 here with 25 minutes to post. Race number 5 is where we'll start. That's a maiden special weight for the sophomore fillies to go 1 mile, purse $46,000. And my top pick in here, and I may even single her tonight, number 3, Auntie Mabel. She's a daughter band coming out of a really loaded race here back on January 2nd. And she really was the best horse in the race. She had the rail going 6.5 furlongs that day, and to be honest, she was slow in to start, and then after that it got worse. She got a terrible ride throughout. She was wide throughout, and didn't really get much help there that day. But now she stretches out to a mile. Lascano gets the return call, so now he knows her a little better. And she has a bullet work since that race. She worked out at the training center, half mile, first of 5 that day. And I think she'll benefit from the stretch out of distance. She's drawn well to the inside at this 2-turn race. And Annie Mabel, I think if she can repeat that performance she ran on debut, that was a monster one. She'll dispose of this field by open links, I believe. She's 4-1 on the morning line, and I like her a whole bunch tonight. For second, number 11, Diamond Hill. This one comes from the Paulo Lobo stable, and she exits a very good race as well. That race was won by her stablemate that day, Oxen Power, who flew up the fence beneath the Bug Boy to win. But she ran a pretty good, kind of a sneaky race. She was parked out a little bit wide and kind of made a little early move, and then she stalled, and she came again, and she kind of ran in spurts. But she was only beaten 5 lengths on her Polytrack debut. Has a couple of works since that race. Comes from a barn where the guy knows how to get one ready, and it doesn't concern me that she hasn't ran since December 27th. I think she'll be fit and raring to go, and I wanted a price horse. I do expect Annie Mabel to go off, probably one of the first or second favorites. You see she's second choice on the morning line at 4-1, and Diamond Hill at 12-1. I wanted to have some value in behind that second choice, so I'm using that one for second with Angel Serpa. And for third, number 7, Miss is Zippy, and she's another one that comes from a barn who has a very high win percentage, Steve Dunn. And this is the daughter of City Zip out of a mare named Lady on the Run. She made her Polytrack debut on December 19th here, and it was a good one. She was second, beaten 5 lengths, and came back on January 9th as the second choice that day, was second again. So she's been twice a bridesmaid, and I think she's starting to figure things out. And I do like her at 5-1. I think you have to use her on the ticket as well. 3-11-7 for me, race 5 that starts that late pick 4. Now the final pick 3 on the card, we have rolling pick 3s throughout the card that starts in race number 6. And in race 6, I think this race is a spread race. And Spirit, now she's a 3-time Turfway winner, a 6-time winner at the distance. She's going to be my top pick, but I am going to add some coverage in here. She is one that, she won 6 races last year and certainly is in form. Now, last start for the 12-5, she ran a disappointing 5th, beaten 8 lengths, but that was a pretty good field. Tempestuous Amy for Paul Webster and Bob Riley won off that day, and that was a very good horse. I think if Tempestuous Amy was in here, she would definitely be the favorite. She's not eligible for a starter, but Spirit at 7-2 is my top pick. For second, number 5, a Maribel. Now, she was a second last start, but that was at the 6.5 furlong distance, stretches out to the mile here. She's 4-1 for Ray Hernandez. We spoke about his barn hitting very well right now, and I think this is one that should be able to get the trip. When I look at the race, I see a little bit of speed from Fun Sucker, but outside of that, that's exciting. That coming off those sprint races to the route, she'll show a little bit of speed, but she don't have the speed that this horse has. And I think a Maribel can break out of the gate. And this track it's been pretty warm here the last week or so, and we've had some rain. And when this track gets a lot of moisture in it, the inside gets good and speed gets very good. So we'll kind of watch the first couple of races, but just off the form without seeing how the track's playing, I'm going to use the 5 for those reasons. And then number 6, Caddy Chris. She was a winner here last start for the 8 level, rallying from off the pace. She was second in behind my top pick 2 back, and she's one that you must use. She comes from the barn of RGB for Jeffrey Ross with Albin Jimenez. The 7th race is a other than optional 25 for the girls to go 6 furlongs. I'm probably only going to use a couple of horses in here, but my top pick's 8-1. 8-1 in here, AP Princess for Cipriano Contreras. And her entry mate is still in, so you get 2 for the price of 1 from a good barn. Cipriano Contreras is hitting at well over 50% here at the meet in the win column, and he's doing very well down south with his other string as well. You get 2 horses in here. Either one I think can win. They're both 8-1. They both get a break in weight. And they're both multiple winners. There's a couple of horses in here. In fact, the favorite in here is a non-winners of 2 Life. I'm totally against her tonight. I'm going for the 1 and 1A as my top pick. I'm going to go for second. I'm going to go for Gyro Kate. She's the daughter of Girolamo for the Foster family and Lonnie Reynolds, trained by Eric Foster. She gets Albin Jimenez up tonight. And this is one who I think drawn to the outside here at 9-2 at this 6 furlong distance should get a perfect pace setup. She'll get a perfect trip to the outside and gets the leading rider at 9-2. I got to use her in behind my top choices. And I'll throw in Urban Insight for third. She's another one, comes from a good barn. She was second last start for a horse from the Granite's barn named Jenny's Beep Beep, who I think is undefeated, and she's faced some good horses here in the Bluegrass State at Churchill and Keeneland, but those are all restricted first-level allowance races for horses that never won a race other than or never won 2 races lifetime. This race to me is much tougher with this increase in purses. Our races, these A other than quarters, are very, very tough here, and it takes a really good non-winners of 2 horse to win one of these. It usually goes to the open horses. So I'm going 1, 11, and 8 in race number 7. In the 8th race, I'm only using 2 horses in the pick 4 and pick 6 I'll give out later, and they'll be the top 2 you'll see on your screen here momentarily. Number 11, Beach Hut, and number 4, Strong Yen. Beach Hut ran off the layoff last start. Hadn't raced since August 19th over across the river, and came here on January 18th, going 6 furlongs, and rallied from well back to run 5th, but was a little bit wide on the turn, and that was at 6 furlongs. I think the horse does want a little more ground. I think the 6.5, the extra 16th of a mile will help this one, and with a trip over the track, a tightener, another one with Albin Jimenez up tonight, who's well mounted. This one knows how to win. He's a 3-time Turfway winner, 12 wins in all. He's my top pick. Number 4, Strong Yen, was claimed 3 starts back, and came back and run a respectable 4th place finish in a starter allowance. That was at a route distance. He kind of made a little move too early. He was really hard hustled out to the front and did fight on and show some good grit to Glad to Be Here and Prince Arlo. Then came back and in the starter on the turn back to 6.5 and was up and after the lead, was 8th, beating 18 lengths. That was a pretty good field. He's back in for the nickel. It's a dated condition race. Haven't won a race in 6 months, and I think you got to use him. I think at 4-1, he's a must play for Charlie Livers. Now number 3, Richie's on a Rampage, is my third choice at 10-1, and he's a gelded son of Stroll, who I think should be able to show a little bit of speed to the inside. I like the jock Sonny Leone, who's picked up the mount today, and he's a 4-time winner, but he doesn't always win. But what he does do is get on the ticket more than 50% of his lifetime starts, and I think he will be on the ticket and behind those 2. Richie's on a Rampage for me at 10-1. I think you got to throw him underneath if you can do so. So 8 races tonight, Polytrack Fast, temperature 32 degrees. We have that single 6 jackpot carryover. Race number 3, 20-cent base bet, well over $17,000 in free money going in, and they'll kick things off here in 17 minutes. Good luck.